Hey guys, so today is the first day in a really long time that it hasn't been either too hot to even bother existing outside or raining for 48 hours straight. It was kind of wild, the rain that we had. I heard that some areas of the state got 6 inches of rain, which is just absolutely bonkers. But now we are dry. It is cooled off. It is the perfect time to be outside. So I'm going to take you guys on a full garden tour. So that means I'm going to go over everything, and that might mean that this video ends up being a little bit long, but I'm not going to leave anything out. Just look at how pretty everything looks right now. We've got flowers and butterflies. Sometimes I even get hummingbirds coming around. Everything is just so lush and pretty. If you guys are on Instagram, you might have seen my reel recently where I showed you Draco's favorite spot to sit in the garden. Oh, he heard his name. Now he's getting up. That's you, buddy. Yeah. So this is always where I'll find Draco sitting when I come outside. You are too cute to be allowed. You know that? Yeah, he knows. All right, so let's start with this trellis, which I think because I have the stairs right there, it really feels like the entrance to the garden. My grapes have kind of grown up and over it, which I did not plan, but the plant is right here and it was supposed to go up this way, and some of it did, and some of it also went this way, and I ended up letting it, and now it is mostly what is on this trellis. I also have some scarlet runner beans here. None of them have actually put on any beans. I think it's just been too hot for the flowers to set, so hopefully now that it's cooled off, we'll actually see some runner beans on here. All right, so the tomato trellis here, which is also covered in my blue cocoa pole beans. Let me just set my basket down. You can see we've actually got quite a few flowers still coming on this plant, even though I actually stopped picking the beans like a few weeks ago. So we've got plenty of beans that are on here that are absolutely too big and too tough to eat, and that is the goal for me. I'm waiting for them to make dried beans for me. But because I'm still getting so many new little beans, I can actually come out here and most of the time find some green beans that are just perfect eating size. Right behind me, next to this trellis here, I have some turmeric plants. This one right here, I planted, I think, this year, and then this one next to it is the one that came back from last year. And I had put this one here before I knew that that one was coming back. And I have been told that by the viewer that sent me these turmeric starts that I should leave them for another year. So on the 3rd year, I should definitely dig these up, and I am told that I will be super surprised by how big the roots get. And now that I am like feeling pretty confident that they will survive the winter, I am going to leave probably all of them. I might dig up 1 or 2 just to look at them. This one with the purple on the leaf, this is a black turmeric, and then these ones without the purple, these are just a regular turmeric. So going down the line here, honestly, the tomatoes are the least noticeable part of the tomato trellis. The basil that I have here is growing excellent. This is the side that gets more sun, so the plants on this side, they're bigger, but they flower faster than the ones that are on the opposite side. I've cut these back, I think, 2 major times now, and they are flowering again. I already have a gallon bag in my freezer that is full of pesto, and it looks like I'll probably be able to make a 2nd gallon bag based on what I'm seeing here. You can definitely see that the tomatoes are struggling. I had this one plant, it got something and just like fully died. I would cut it out, but the beans are so intertwined with it at the moment that it kind of just needs to stay there. And it seems like whatever this had, like, didn't really spread to the other tomatoes, because this is something totally different. These ones, they turned brown immediately. There wasn't like really an in-between yellow stage. So this is more what I expect to see as far as like tomato disease. Every tomato I've ever had eventually gets some sort of yellowing on its leaves. But this plant, look at it. It's still making absolutely gorgeous tomatoes. This is an Amish paste variety right here. As we go down the line, it looks like I actually successfully captured a tomato. I think this might be the only one that I get seeds from that are going to be true to type. Something about my bag technique this year just like didn't really work out. I think I accidentally did it at the time when the plants weren't setting fruit because of the heat. And that's something that I think a lot of new gardeners aren't aware of, is if it is too hot outside, your tomato plant might be making flowers and they might be getting pollinated, but then they'll drop because it's just too hot and the plant is like, I can't make a fruit in these conditions. What do you want from me? I also have on this trellis some Malabar spinach. That's what this is. It's starting to make its little tiny fruits here. A lot of people use these as dye, which I think is really cool, but also in the name spinach, you can eat the leaves. They are like a little mucusy, a little more waxy than you might expect from spinach. So like, you know, if that texture is not your thing, then maybe you won't like it. But I do think you should try it because it grows super well in the heat. And it's a nice green to be able to come out and get when, you know, obviously you can't grow lettuce and things like that. I found this tomato just sitting on the ground under my basil plant, and I picked it up expecting it to be half rotten because it was on the ground, but it's got a little hole in it, but by and large it is fine, so we'll keep it. All right, so I also want to show you guys my walking onion patch. I originally put these guys here because I was thinking, oh, this sort of stuff, I've seen people get really dense patches of it. I was thinking it could help outcompete some of this stupid grass that I cannot get rid of. But at the moment, as it's coming in, I definitely have to keep beating the grass back from it so that they have a chance. You know, hopefully next year we see a little bit more growth from these guys. I'm not going to harvest any of them at all. You guys who've done walking onions before, tell me if that's a mistake. But basically, all the little tops that came off of these, some of them, like this one, if we follow it over here, it's down here in the straw, and I kind of made sure to cover it up so it would have contact with the soil there. And then I had another one that like kind of fell off and rolled onto the sidewalk. So I split those ones up and I planted them back in here. And basically I just want this to get really established so then I can feel good about harvesting from it. Next to it is my skullcap. This pretty little plant. This is a perennial. It is a medicinal herb, and I have harvested from it once or twice, but mostly it's just kind of there. That's another one that I'm really hoping will help to outcompete the grass, because this Bermuda grass, the thing that it hates the most is shade. So if I get enough plants here shading it, like it'll probably still be there, but it'll be a lot easier to manage. So in the interest of that, I've also planted another sage plant here. So I got this from a farmer's market. There's a couple other plants I got from the farmer's market that I'll show you guys. It's called a culinary sage. It looks different from the other sage I have. Like my sage has much fatter leaves, and I don't know if it's just the growing conditions or if it's actually a slightly different variety. But you know, I bought it anyway, especially because my other sage plant is getting old and they do have a lifespan. So eventually, even though it's perennial, a lot of perennial plants do eventually die just because, you know, they can't live forever. So I've got a new one here that will take the other one's place eventually when it dies. And in the meantime, it'll hopefully get big and again, start doing some of the job of shading out this grass. Something I did yesterday is I actually came down along here and planted peas. You can kind of see some of the little holes that I made in the straw. I want the peas to be able to grow up and kind of hang on this same trellis. I'm thinking I probably won't even cut all the vines off until maybe spring. I don't know, we'll see. But in the past, I haven't done a good job of planting my peas early enough. So hopefully this is early enough and they can actually have time to grow in the warm before it gets chilly. And so the tomatoes will die when it gets chilly, but the peas should be able to handle that. And so they'll be coming up to take over this trellis when the tomatoes are done with it. This basil plant right here is a really cute little anomaly. So this is supposed to be a purple opal basil, like that one. But for some reason it was just green, you know, genetic mutations and all of that. But I noticed that it's doing this with a couple of its leaves, which is really cute and interesting. And I just thought I'd share that with you. All right, we've made it to the end of the row. Down here I have my marshmallow. So when fall comes and the plant dies back, I will dig up the roots, I will split them up, replant some of them, and I will use some of them to make marshmallow. This thing has done an incredible job making seeds for me. Look at all those seeds in there. I'm wondering how many volunteers I'm gonna get in this area. I would not be mad if I had like marshmallow all down this row. I love how tall it gets. I think it's not just a visual barrier, but you know, also kind of a wind barrier. I think it's just nice to have a little bit of that. It's extra protection against the deer. Obviously I have these strings, which I think work pretty well, but I would just like this place to be as unfriendly to deer as possible. So kind of an interesting fact that I've kind of been noticing over the season is right now everybody is talking about the tomato hornworms that they're dealing with. And for the second year in a row now, I haven't really had any. I think last year I might have had like 1 or 2. This year I have seen 0. I also have seen 0 evidence of any damage from them. And I think that's kind of wild. Like surely they're around, so I wonder what is keeping them away. Could theoretically just be that the birds, which I see in my garden quite a bit, are really good at finding them and eating them. But you know, that's just one of those things where like you can never fully know for sure what's going on. Let's go ahead and start walking down this second row right here. So right here at the front, this is my Sugar Rush peach pepper, and it is laying on top of my lavender, which is surprisingly still alive under here. This little plant I grew from seed, and yeah, it's never gotten really that big, but every year I think it looks slightly healthier. So, you know, we'll see how it is next year. Under here, none of these are really starting to ripen yet. I think we are getting pretty close though. And also worth noting that I am now starting to see the first signs of this, I think, bacterial disease. Could be fungal, one of those. It comes on my pepper plants every year. And this is kind of late for me to be seeing it. So I have been spraying organic Rev on these, and I think that that does help a lot as far as like mitigating this little disease that they tend to get. So now that I'm actually seeing signs of it, it's time probably for another application of that. So if you've never heard me talk about organic Rev on the channel, basically it is a bunch of beneficial microbes in solution, and you apply it to your soil, to your plants, and these are the microbes that are helping make things bioavailable to your plants in the soil. So healthy soil, healthy plants. The soil gets the microbes that it needs, and then these nutrients become more available to your plants, which then helps them to be healthier and their own immune systems to fight off any sort of infection that they might get. I have a link in the description of every single video where you can get a discount using my code on their website, so go check that out. All right, moving past the front here, this section right here is where I had my potato onions. I definitely accidentally ripped one of them out when I was weeding. I have another one here. It definitely did split, but they never got very big. And now I'm wondering, should I like dig them up and split them up and replant them? Just this whole section, it got overly weedy. I think they got out-competed pretty hard. So I would like to, you know, give them another chance, maybe take a little bit better care of them. And all of this right here, this is just some compost from my composter that I dumped here because this was a convenient spot to dump it. Pretty much everything else in here is going to be eggplant or hot pepper for the first half of this. You can see obviously a couple of turmerics in there with those giant leaves. And we have some volunteer zinnias. I don't know if I actually planted any zinnias this year, but everything is actually looking really quite good. I've got a variety of eggplants and peppers in here, and like I said, it was really hot, which makes it hard for things to set fruit, so I'm only just now seeing the eggplants putting on another flush. I think the peppers are the only thing that didn't really slow down in the mega heat, where we had like 100-degree days for several days in a row. But yeah, we've got plenty of hot peppers coming on. These ones are Hongochu peppers. I also have Carolina cayennes. They kind of look like cayennes until you look at the bottom, and they have like a little butt on them, which is, I feel like, is unusual for cayennes, but all of these Carolina cayennes have that. So I just think that that's interesting. I also still have my Buena Mulata peppers. These are one of my favorites because they're such a gorgeous purple color, and they're also the first hot pepper to produce in the spring. They've been so consistent for me. I think these will always be in my garden just because they're pretty and also very, very productive. In the middle here, this is still the kohlrabi that never really got anywhere, but I decided to leave it. And as you can see, I haven't moved it at all. It's definitely getting munched on, but it is surviving the summer. So that's just kind of interesting to see. Oh, look at that. This is one of my Antigua eggplants. This is my absolute favorite variety of eggplant. I think they're not only gorgeous, but they're also like the right size for pretty much anything I want to do. I can roast them. I can just chop them and cook them in a pan. The skin is very soft, so you do not have to peel them. And just the entire texture of the eggplant is very nice compared to like the ones you get in the grocery store. I think those eggplant can get kind of tough. Next to my turmeric, I also have a ginger here. You'll see these kind of scattered throughout the garden. These I will dig up because I have tried leaving them over the winter and they just don't survive, which is fine. I still get plenty of ginger from them after just 1 year. Past this point here is all sweet peppers, as well as a couple of eggplants and some other things that y'all see. I have been kind of struggling with the sweet peppers this year. I'm finally looking, like, look at those. Those actually look really good. Mostly I've been struggling with things eating them before they get done. And then also this particular variety right here, which I can't remember the name of, but I'll put on the screen. A majority of them, like, look at that. You see that brown one? I've been seeing a lot of them get to that point before they ripen, and I don't really know what's causing it. So whenever I get an actual ripe one, I'm just like so excited because it's kind of rare. The volunteer potatoes in this area, volunteer potato, they're almost ready to pull. We'll see if I actually remember to dig them up. Oh, look, here's one that's actually starting to ripen. They do eventually turn red. Oh no, look at that. Still getting munched on. Something about these is just like not well suited to my area. They're trying so hard to produce, and they're like kind of the densest little plants I've ever seen. They're very short, but they make like a ton of little peppers that stick straight up. This one's kind of falling over because it's so heavy. But yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna grow this one again next year. It just seems like it's not well suited to my environment. All right, we've made it to the end of the row, and you can see I have my lemongrass there. Actually, right here is the feverfew, but you can't see it because it kind of died back and then the weeds grew up around it. So I think I'm gonna have to take that into account. I kind of thought it would be fluffy all year, but I need something else near it that is gonna like kind of take over being shady when this starts, you know, losing its leaves for the summer. The lemongrass, doing great. This thing, I've already cut it back. It's absolutely massive, and it is doing its job of shading out this little area, which I'm pretty happy with. Next to the lemongrass, we're now coming back down the third row. This is my second round of popcorn. This variety is Pennsylvania butter flavored popcorn, which I'm super excited about. We are seeing tasseling on here, and we've got some good pollen coming on. I'm pretty excited. This should be done relatively soonish, but I'll probably leave it out here to dry as long as I can. Also, if y'all remember, I planted some southern peas, southern beans, whatever they are, on these corn, and you can see they're trellising up them perfectly. I actually am starting to get some beans on here. The way these grow is reminding me a lot of the noodle beans, actually. You can see the way that top is and the way that this stem is that has the bean on it. This looks a lot like a noodle bean to me. So I wonder if they will taste similarly or not. I also have right here my pigeon peas. These, I haven't seen them set any fruit yet. They may or may not. They're supposed to be perennial though. So hopefully we'll see something from them, but if we don't, I'll be looking out for them to come back next year. Right here is the peanuts. As you can see, they're still growing, still making little flowers. I've read that these are kind of like potatoes, where you just kind of wait until the foliage is done and it dies back, and then eventually you dig up the peanuts under there. So I'll try and show you guys the harvest that I actually get from these. I don't know how much this one little area can actually make, but I am excited to just have some peanuts. All right, and so now we can come and look at the arched trellises. So right in front of me, these are the creeping cucumbers. These are a perennial kind of relative of cucamelons. So they're making teeny tiny little fruits. And we will see if they come back next year, but I'm really hoping that they do. I'm also quite impressed with how well they are climbing my trellis here. If we turn around to the other side, I actually have normal cucumbers over here, and I really didn't think I was going to because I thought all of them died. They got eaten by little pill bugs. But then this one kind of emerged from the weeds, and I was like, wow, okay, so we've got a cucumber. And I've actually got a few fruits off of it now. We've got this one coming in right here, and I am seeing little fruits forming on it as well. So obviously now that it's cooled off, the cucumber is going to have a little bit more luck with that as well. And then right below the cucumbers, I have also planted more peas right in this area. This is the noodle bean trellis. I really had been hoping that it would be more densely populated by this time this year. Obviously, I did have the trouble with the pill bugs eating all of my little sprouts, so I am happy that I got any beans at all. But yeah, next year we'll try even harder. We'll try something else, and we'll try to get even more noodle beans on this trellis. And if you want to look, you see how the tip of that looks a lot like the southern pea. It's very, very similar the way these plants grow. All right, so now we are going to briefly move on to the fourth row here, and I want to show you guys something kind of sad. This plant right here, this is a native perennial that I got at the native plant sale last year, and you can see it's been munched on quite a bit, and I'm like 90% sure that that is deer. I think the deer have finally outsmarted me. So I have my deer fence around 3 sides of the garden, and then this front side is open because I don't really want to have to be ducking under it all the time. And it took them a couple of years, but they finally figured out my tricks. So I'm gonna have to put up a fourth string to kind of fully close it off here. And the thing that makes me think that it is deer is if you come through here, you can see they've like nibbled the tops off of all of these weeds. And you know, I'm just glad that they like the weeds better than most of the plants that I have here intentionally. So that worked in my favor. They also haven't really touched the sorghum, which is growing quite nicely over here. Something else is enjoying eating the sorghum, but that's definitely not deer. And I'm wondering how long it's going to take for these to actually start making grain for me. But in the meantime, they look like they're doing pretty darn good. And then as we go back that way, I definitely had potatoes kind of in this area, and I can't find them. I haven't dug around or anything, but I just like don't see them in there. The weeds have gotten really bad in this area. This is like the one area that I haven't really addressed yet. And so maybe near the end of the summer, I will go digging through here for potatoes. But yeah, it's kind of sad, but I think it'll still be savable. All right, we're moving on to side 2 of the garden. So my pergola here, it's actually starting to fill out quite nicely. We've got grapes coming along the top here. I've had to do quite a bit of training to get them to kind of go to the top, but yeah, it's starting to work out pretty well. And the hardy kiwi, they're making lots of vines. I'm thinking next year is when I'll actually start seeing the fruit on these. But speaking of fruit, you know, my one tiny bunch of grapes that I've been watching all summer, look at that. They're finally starting to turn. Oh, so exciting. They were just like stuck green for the longest time. I'm now wondering how I'm gonna be able to tell if they're fully ripe, because they're like starting to turn and they're starting to get softer. They were hard as rocks for the longest time. So tips on that would be great if y'all have them, because this is my first and only bunch of grapes at the moment. All right, and then the raised beds. So this one right here, this is my only self-watering planter, which I think that using it for a cucumber is actually a really good move on my part because they're so thirsty. But you can see this one is a little ahead of the other one. It's been making fruits for a while. Let me see if I can find any for you. Yeah, like they don't really get much bigger than this. So it's definitely smaller than a cucamelon. Here's another one right here. They look like teeny tiny watermelons and they taste like better cucumbers in my opinion. Here's a bunch hanging right here. They're like cucumbers with a little hint of lime. My friend Abby tried one last night and she said it tasted like a cucumber that had been put in pickle brine for like a day, maybe. So just gently flavored, apparently better than normal cucumbers. And they're just so gosh darn cute. Like, oh my goodness. I'll probably use them for like flavored water or like throw them into smoothies to give them like a really fresh taste or something like that. But they're also just excellent little snacks for while I'm in the garden. I just found one that's probably max size. I have not seen anything bigger than this on that plant. All right, so the raised bed next to it, this one has had its issues. This really empty area here I had planted with purple asparagus early in the season. And you know, it came in looking a little moldy. Definitely it was one of those things where it was in shipping for way too long. But I planted it anyway, hoping it would come back and survive. And I have one right here that survived and everything else just kind of died. The marshmallow in this area, it's doing great. It's not as like straight up as the other one in the ground. And I wonder if like maybe the dirt is too loose for it to really hold itself up properly. Because it is a raised bed. But also in here we have some strawberries that I planted. I didn't get any fruit this year, but next year definitely we'll be seeing fruit. The yarrow is done flowering, and we've got all its little seeds. I'm sure I'm going to be finding this everywhere forever. That's what I've heard about yarrow. And also these asparagus here, they are actually starting to look really good. Like this just put up this stalk the other day and I'm like, wow, that is a harvestable size asparagus for sure. I might even harvest it and eat it today because, you know, it's got plenty of other stalks going. Yeah, and I'm excited for next year when hopefully all of these will be making really good edible sized stalks. This next raised bed, this one is the one that made me all that beautiful glass gem popcorn, which again, if you are on Instagram, you've probably seen a ton of it by now. There's still just a couple of cobs on here that aren't quite ready. Like this one's getting real close. And then down below, I have pumpkins and I've also had beans here. The beans never did anything. They looked sick. And I think that that's because this is one of the raised beds that got that bad dirt last year. And I was hoping by this year it would be kind of fixed, but obviously not quite. So I think what I'm going to do now that the popcorn is done, and because the pumpkins haven't really done much of anything either, is I'm going to probably fully clear out this bed, hard reset it, and then this is going to be root vegetables. You can also see I tried like so hard to keep this corn standing upright. I have it tied to this post here because storms kept knocking it over because it just got so tall, you know, and the way the wind comes through here, these just flattened out like almost every storm. So I'm like really pleased that I managed to get as many of these to survive and make corn for me as I did. Now right next to them, I have here, these are all my sunchokes. They are also absurdly tall at this point. They got blown over, but then they kind of righted themselves. And my American ground nuts are finally growing. So, you know, that took forever, but here they are. I don't know how long it's going to take them from this point to actually make something that I can eat. So we're going to have to go Google that because I only just noticed the other day that we actually had like, you know, actual plants in here. So, you know, I'm excited about that. Coming around to the tiered raised bed, because the corn kept falling this way, this area has gotten quite overgrown. We've still got the Greek oregano in here. There was some chamomile in here that I think I've stopped harvesting off of and I let it finish. And then up top here, I have reset for carrots. You can see all the little babies. These are the seeds that I just saved from the carrots that were growing in here over the summer. And obviously I'm gonna have to thin these out a lot. Last year I decided not to do any thinning, and I think that that was a mistake. So this year I'm gonna be a little bit harsher with myself, and once I can actually see what I'm doing when these are just a little bit bigger, I am absolutely gonna come through here and do some thinning. And down here on the other side, we have the hi-ho silver thyme, which most of it is not silver anymore. My tiny little chive plant, which this is a new one that I got this year, it's still not getting very big. It doesn't look very happy. My garlic chive, however, looks very happy. This plant, I think, it's doing better than the onion chive. We also have a spider friend here. This is a writing spider, and she is more than welcome in the garden. She's hanging off of my calendula, which are still blooming, but also plenty of them I have let go to seed. Calendula seeds are so strange looking, but yeah, maybe we'll get some more volunteers next year. And then finally we've come around to the OG raised bed. This is my OG thyme. It looks like the heat from the summer hit it pretty hard. Like, it was big and bushy, and now a lot of it has died back. This is my second feverfew plant. You can see there's still quite a few leaves on this one, but all of the flowering stems have done their job and died back now. And you can also see what I'm talking about with my sage. Like, it's definitely still alive, but the way the center of this plant is dying back, it really just makes me feel like it's getting near the end of its life. I also have in here, this is a curly parsley that I got from the store. And then this one is my Japanese wild parsley that should be perennial instead of biennial. So we'll see about that. And this white thing hanging off of it, that was like a chrysalis for, I think, a swallowtail. I saw the caterpillar on the dill nearby, so I'm just like pretty sure that that's what that is. Right, and now we are moving on to the more perennial kind of berry patch over here, and there's definitely some like really exciting things to see. So first of all, sweet potatoes are like just piling out of the raised bed here. Definitely, I think the grasshoppers, you can see it jumping around. I think grasshoppers are kind of munching on them, but it seems to not really be bothering them all that much. Definitely got a little bit before I can harvest these guys, but it looks like it's going to be a really good harvest this year. So over here in the blueberry area, you can kind of see what I've been doing here. So you can see this is what the grass does. And I actually went through here with my little clippers and very carefully clipped away a bunch of the grass because I really wanted to save all my little strawberry plants in here. So hopefully they can have a little bit more of a chance to kind of propagate and get themselves back established before spring next year, because definitely the grass just absolutely took over, and it was even starting to choke out some of my little blueberry plants. So hopefully that'll help out a bit. Obviously I haven't done all under here yet. This definitely could use a fair bit of weeding, but we're definitely still getting blackberries. Look at that. They look absolutely gorgeous. And we are getting raspberries as well, although I will say both of them are really slowing down, even though I'm technically getting fruit. Past the berries is one of the most exciting things, I think. My little pomegranate has started, oh no! I looked at it, oh my goodness, are you the culprit? Are you the culprit? Shame on you. This is my one little pomegranate fruit, and you ate it. How could you do that to me? Yeah, well, I was really excited to show you guys my little tiny pomegranate fruit, but seems like maybe that's not gonna happen. Well, that is definitely disappointing, but I wasn't actually expecting fruit from it this year, so like maybe it'll be okay in the end, because maybe I should have been pulling the fruits off of it anyway, since it's such a tiny little tree, and nature just made that decision for me, so. This one right here is the pineapple guava. I'm thinking it's not going to actually fruit this year. I think it would have made flowers by now. It's definitely growing though. Like, you can see all the new little very silver growth coming on it. So it's definitely happy. It is getting established in its new spot, and we'll check on it next year to see if it actually gets any fruit. You know what is fruiting though is my fig tree. This is the one that I actually planted this year. I got this from the Botanical Garden sale at Clemson, and the variety is LSU Purple. And I actually think this one is ready to eat. Oh, there we go. See how this tastes. Look at how pretty that is. That's a pretty good fig. Could be a little bit sweeter, but yeah, that's exciting. The very first figs that I grew. There's a couple more on here. Like this one looks almost ready, and these ones obviously have a little bit of a ways to go. And then we've got to do a quick check-in on my citrus. So this one over here, this is the Citramon. This is supposed to be the hardiest of them all. It is staying small, but it is doing all right. Maybe we'll see some growth in the spring now that it's got like roots established this year. And if we come over to this one, this is the US 942, aka Sour Patch Kids. And it has put on some really healthy looking growth over the summer. And like, even though the older leaves, they don't look great, I think I finally gotten the nutrition figured out for these guys, because like this stuff looks super healthy. Like, okay, this plant is happy here now. And same for this one. This is my kumquat. This is the one that is grafted. And you can see, look at this beautiful growth that it put on. Like, this looks so healthy. And right here at the top, that's a little baby kumquat. There's a flower in here. So maybe I'll get a couple of little kumquats off of this year. Okay, so last thing, I swear, is this little area right here. This is where my elderberry is. This is its second year here, although last year all I did was take a cutting and put it in here. So this is its first actual year of growing here, and no flowers at all. So hopefully we will see next year it come back with a ton of flowers. I also have my raspberry here. This is the one that was a gift from my grandma. I put it over here separate because it does have thorns, unlike all the other ones. And so I wanted to be able to be careful when interacting with it. And it is right next to my tiny little fig, which I truly thought was dead and almost dug up, but ended up not, which is why these are so close to each other. I would not have done that on purpose, but I thought this was dead, and it managed to come back. So now we're kind of stuck with that the way that it is, but hopefully it'll all work out. Oh, and I forgot, I put up a rain barrel system on my house. This is like the one gutter that it came with, so I went ahead and attached that to my rain barrel, and it is like super full already. We had, like I said, so much rain. So yeah, I've got my little hose connected to it, and it's like super uphill from the garden, so it actually gets pretty decent water pressure down there. Just gotta claim my abandoned basket that I left here halfway through the tour with my like one tomato in it. But yeah, if you guys enjoyed this, I will put up the playlist for all the rest of the garden tours for this year. And also, if you really want, you can go look for playlists from previous years, because I used to do a garden tour every single week. So actually, if you're interested in seeing, you can see the full progression of the garden all the way from 2021 when I moved in. Thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, happy gardening.